Welcome back, dickheads, to the second try at the Island Division preview. As you know, I did the 30-minute one, whatever, a week ago, and I uploaded it. It was impossible to upload for whatever reason. Then when I finally did upload it, I had no sound to it. So I still have the board up in the back. I'm going to leave it as is and try to redo this again. So, the Island Division consists of, in chronological order, Capital Gains, Rampage, Red Machine, Dominators. That's actually not chronological order, but it's what it is on the website. So we'll go with that. So we'll start out with Capital Gains. As far as my notes go, hang on a sec. Here we go. So remember how we do this. So I have 5 categories I grade each team on. Hitting depth, pitching depth, and then managerial skills, so to speak. How do you generally manage your roster from the day you draft till the final day of the season? Obviously, this is off prior history, so this isn't a top science, so to speak. So we will start with Capital Gains. Like, Capital Gains has been a great addition, or a good addition. Great's a little bit strong. He's not a great addition. He's a good addition to the league. We're glad he came in last year. Had a shitty team. I think, was he the one that had a shitty team? Actually, his team was pretty good because he was gifted Justin Steele by Sniffer. Still pissed off about that. That being said, he did manage to have a decent record, if I'm not mistaken, despite his roster. And we'll see how year 2 has started so far. If I go over his roster, he's actually got, if we start, remember I grade in the top 5 rounds, how many hitters did you draft in those top 5 rounds, how many pitchers. There's no scientific one way or another, just kind of gives you an idea what the person was thinking during the draft. With Capital, with Kenny, he's not Kenny, excuse me, it's Jerry. My apologies, Jerry. He drafted 3 hitters in the top 5 rounds and 2 pitchers. His top players, he drafted, I think, Mookie Betts 2nd overall. Obviously, he started out at a ridiculous rate. He has Paul Goldschmidt, and he's got one more. I had all this written down. Oh, his dynasty guy was Fernando Tatis in the 2nd round. So with Betts, Tatis, and Goldschmidt, pretty good top 3 of the top 5 rounds. That's a pretty good start. So give him props for that. Again, going back to Goldschmidt, he's his first baseman. He's got Justin Turner, who qualifies at 2nd, which is a plus. Ryan McMahon of Colorado. Mookie Betts playing short. By the way, Mookie Betts sucks playing shortstop. There's no way he's starting a playoff game at shortstop come that time. There's no way. He sucks. He's terrible. He also has Jung-Hoo Lee from the KBO League. We'll see about him. Sterling Marte, Fernando Tatis, Willie Ames is his DH this week on his roster. As far as depth, he's got Wilmer Flores, DeBon of Houston. He picked up Michael Taylor recently, picked up Cabrera, Mensis, and Tavares. So he has pretty damn good depth. So credit Jerry for a solid 9 and a pretty decent bench. It looks as though he has every position except shortstop. Excuse me, as Willie Ames is backup shortstop. So he has actually all his positions covered as bench players. So good job there. He's got a decent outfielder. He's got all his. Well, Mookie plays 3 positions, so there's always flexibility there. He's a little light at second base, but again, he can move Mookie around. He's got a lot of flexibility with Mookie. So Mookie's off to a really good start, and it's showing this week with Capital, with Jerry. He's kicking some ass. So then we move over to his pitching. Remember, he has 2 pitchers drafted in the top 5, and plus he had Justin Steele again. I don't want to get into that, but got to BS if he has him. But he has Justin Steele. He picked Justin Verlander in the 4th round. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but when he comes back, he's in pretty good shape there. And he also has, who was his, I think it was Houston pitcher. Oh yeah, Christian Javier. Don't love Christian Javier, but he's pretty solid. He's definitely a top 5 round pitcher. He's got Waka, Evaldi. His closer's kind of weak. But right now, because Duran of Houston, of Minnesota, is there, but he's on the IL. So he's got Zettel, Lynn, Quintana, Heaney. He's got a pretty, look, they're not great pitchers. He has Justin Steele, and when he comes back, he's great. Verlander should be pretty good. With Valdez, pretty solid rotation, quite honestly. Waka, I'm sorry, with that hitting he's got and that pitching, he's pretty good starting pitching, pretty good depth. And so if we go back to the board, which again, what I had there was I gave capital gains of 4 in hitting, of 4 in depth, of 4 in pitching, and a 4 in depth for pitching. I gave him 4s across the board, 16 points, and then we go to managerial skills. All right, so this is what I've noticed about Jerry. He's got a pretty shitty memory, or he's just not. It's not all there. I don't know the guy. Seems like a nice guy, but just as for instance, we're doing the draft, and it seemed like every time he would ask, when is his turn, even though Evan would say, here comes the next 4, and it would include capital gains, and yet Jerry is saying, when am I up? Like, dude, read the text. He had the same problem last year, too. Who am I up? It's just like, follow along, bro. Follow along. So, under managerial skills, I gave him a 2. Give him a 2. So, that gave him a total of, 2.5. 2.5, my bad, 2.5. I gave him a half because I like his draft this year. So he should have got a 2, but I do like his draft, so maybe there is some sort of possibility that he may actually be a good manager. I don't know. Again, pretty absent-minded when it comes to not paying attention. So anyways, so that gave him a total of 18.5. So capital gains 18.5. That's pretty good because the best score in the other division was 17.5. So that tells you what I think about Jerry's team. Pretty good team. So then we move over to Rampage. Good old Brian. Mr. Bowler. Let's put his roster up here. So Rampage in the top 5 rounds, he drafted 2 hitters, 3 pitchers, right? And so you would think he's a little bit light in the hitting as far as star power compared to pitching, but let's see who he's got. So his two players he drafted in the top 5 rounds came in the first 2 rounds. Juan Soto, Vlad Guerrero in the second round. Okay. Juan Soto should have a big year. Vlad is usually pretty solid. We'll see. As far as the rest of his hitting, he's got a pretty good catcher in Adley Rutzman. I actually kind of like Hae-Sung Kim of San Diego as a second baseman. Gunnar Henderson's a stud at third. Chris Bryant sucks. He retired, right? He's done. He is finished. Chris Bryant, I'll appreciate what he did in 2016 and whatever he did in 15. He is done. Completely done. Finished. He's collecting a check. He's with Anthony Rondon as far as he's fucked his team up because of his contract. He is done. He's got Evan Carter in the outfield. Pfft, garbage. Okay, let me say he's not garbage. He's just a guy. Okay, he may have some moments where he's really good. It's nothing. And then he's got Soto and then Kalanick of Atlanta. So his outfield's pretty bad. It's pretty weak. He started out great. His infield was pretty darn good, but his outfield is garbage. So then you would probably look at, does he have some guys on the bench? He's got Biggio, Joseph Ortiz, Max Kepler, Nolan Chanel of the Angels. I can't say that guy's name. And he's got Rendon and Chris Bryant on the same team. That in itself, Brian, tells you your team sucks. Okay. But it's no coincidence that he's on your team. Those two kind of fit on your team. So his depth sucks. His starting 9 is not that great. He's got a guy on the IL, Danny Jansen, but he's just a guy. So let's move over to pitching. Oh, by the way, so with his hitting, I gave him a 3.5 because he does have a pretty good infield. And as far as depth, I gave him a 2. So he's got 5.5 coming out of the hitting. Brian, the fuck? Chris Bryant and Anthony Rondon on your team? Moron. All right, so let's go over to his pitching. And, okay, I personally am not impressed with his pitching whatsoever. Remember, he had 3 pitchers that he drafted in the top 5 rounds. So he's going to have good pitching, right? He went with pitching the 3rd, 4th, and 5th picks. In the 3rd round, he picked Blake Snell, Mr. 5 innings himself. In the 3rd round, I get it. You overdraft pitching. Okay, I can. You can sell me on that, Blake Snell, even though he didn't know what team he was going to. Then in the 4th round, and frankly, this is just unconscionable. So he has Michael King, who went from a reliever with the Yankees to starting with the Padres. Picked him in the 4th round. 4th. Did anybody out there have Michael King going in the 4th round? Like, I'm not saying you wouldn't have drafted him. Probably would have drafted him before round 10. But in the 4th round, a reliever to a starter? That's like drafting a kicker that high. Brian, what the fuck are you doing? What analytics did you that caught your eye to say, I gotta get Michael King in the 4th round? What's going on in South Dakota? So then in the 5th round, he's got Logan Webb. I think he was a keeper. I'm assuming he was. I can't remember. So basically he has Snell, Webb, King. I I like Kyle Harrison, but he's young. You don't know what's going to happen there. Clevenger just signed. Josiah Gray is not great. Brandon Fatt of Phoenix, Arizona. Renault Blanco, your staff sucks, dude. It just sucks. There's no way to skirt around it. Your staff sucks. And I know you won't make trades unless you and Steve start talking. Now, you have, good. You actually have some dudes that can play shortstop. So if you want to call me, I need a shortstop. I have 2 shortstops that are down. But I can help you out with some pitching. Anyway, so your starting pitching is bad, and your depth is bad. So I gave you a 2 in pitching, a 2 in depth, and it goes without saying, and I'm going to give you a benefit of doubt as far as management. I'm going to give you a 2 there. Should have given you 1.5. Because you had 3 pitchers in the top 5 rounds, and you came up with that. Bro, your team sucks. I don't care what you do week 1, because week 1 is an anomaly of how the rest of the season is, because we have extra games, there's rainouts, there's snowouts, there's dudes playing in cold climates that shouldn't be playing in cold climates, and week 1 doesn't mean squat. So anybody that freaks out after week 1, one way or another, that's on you. So overall, Brian, if we do 3.5 for hitting, 2 for pitching, or 2 for hitting depth, 2 for pitching, 2 for pitching depth, and 2 for management, that should put you at a 9.5. Yikes. 9.5 Mayo jars. Capital, I gave 18. He's been in the league 2 years, and he already has a way better team than you. All right, so that puts us at, the next team is red. So we got South Dakota boys back to back. And, let me take a break here. So, with red, they drafted 3 hitters in the top 5 rounds, 2 pitchers. And I really do kind of like Red's hitting a little bit. There's one position that I'm not a big fan of, but whatever. Everybody, someone's gonna have holes somewhere. Although I think Capital Gains doesn't have any holes right now. All right, so his his 3 hitters he drafted in the top 5 round. He has Nolan Arenado, Nick Castellanos, and George Springer. I don't love the Springer one that high, but it's a good name. So let's check out his offense. I do like Bo Naylor. Bryson Scott at second. Okay, so he's got Encarnacion Strand as a starting first baseman. Yeah, I don't love that. That's not going to work, Steve. That's not going to work. Zive, you might want to nudge your boy there. And by the way, Zive, glad to have you back, buddy. Glad you're feeling good. Glad you're helping Steve out. Show him how to win a championship, buddy. But you got to do something about first base. Strand's not going to cut it. He may be a great hot prospect, but he ain't going to cut it. You know better than that, Steve. He's got Stott at second base. Arenado at third. Correa. Correa's such an enigma at times. Like, he's such a stud, and then he goes in these weird spells where he gets a bunch of 0 for 4s. Because I've had him the last 2 years, but and plus I had him through his Houston years, so I've had him a lot. But Correa is pretty solid for the most part, short. Castellanos, Kwan, and Buxton. Again, with Buxton, I mean, come on, guys. We know what it is. He's a great player when he's playing. It's just he doesn't play. I think to this point of the season, he doesn't even have a homer yet. It's kind of odd. But anyways, it's a decent offense. I don't love first base. Let me see if does he have a backup first baseman? Elias Diaz of Colorado, Trillo of second base, or backup second baseman of Pittsburgh, Terang, J.D. Davis, Brandon Marsh, Springer. Steve, I would be interested in taking Terang off your. I need a shortstop, like a lie. And you could use a first baseman. I'd be happy to trade you a first baseman for Terang. As far as injuries, you already lost Bryce Lewis. I don't know how long he's injured. Another guy gets injured a lot, and Friedel. So it's not I actually like your depth. What do they put you for that? Okay. So I gave you a 3.5 for hitting, 3.5 for depth. So 7 out of there is not bad. It's pretty good. I actually like your hitting. I don't like your first baseman. First baseman is not good. You're better than that, Steve. Richard, fix him. So out of hitting, he's got 7. Not bad. Then we go over to his pitching, and he took 2 pitchers in the top 5 rounds. Remember, he took Garrett Cole, and that sucks to lose Cole. His second guy he took was Max Fried, and he's not looking good. He's got like an 18 ERA or some shit. I would assume he's going to get better. Why wouldn't he, right? So now he's got to be the ace since Strider's out. But he needs to turn that around quick. Maeda hasn't looked good so far for Detroit. Pavetta for Boston's looked pretty good. I do like BB for Cleveland. Houck, Kramer, Mize. Yeah, I don't love the rest of the team, quite honestly. That pitching, I like your starting staff. But after that, it gets pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to assume Cole's coming back. So this is part of that. Cole comes back. He's part of what I'm thinking about pitching, because he is coming back. And I do like Fried. Obviously, he hasn't started out well, but again, it's week 1. So I gave Zive and Steve a 4 in pitching. But as far as depth, you got a 2. So that puts our total at 7 for offense, 6 for pitching. It gives you 13. My bad. I gave you my original one. I had a different number here for whatever reason. On your hitting depth, I actually had 4 up there. I knew the number looked wrong. Your hitting depth was a 4, which is accurate actually. I should have given that. Yes, because you have pretty good depth. You just don't have a first baseman. So 7.5 out of hitting, 4 for starting pitching, and then 2 for pitching depth. And when it comes to the managerial skills, look, Steve's been far and away the best commissioner we've had. He still works some magic behind the scenes. He does the pitching, which is insane how well he does that. And we will forever thankful for his commissionership and how he handles the pitching. He's a fantastic dude. I know I pissed him off many times, but we all love the hell out of him. So I gave him a 4 for management because he just can't seem to win, and which gives us a total of 17 and a half. I don't know why my numbers are off here. So it's still a pretty good score. 3.5, 4 for depth, 4 for pitching, 2 for pitching depth, and management is 4. That's 7. Is that 8, 11 and a half, 13 and a half? Yeah, it's 17 and a half. So I got him just under capital gains. So there you go, Steve. So let's move to the final team, the Dominators. Now, Dominators, I was pretty hard on Dominators a few years back, but he has since turned it around. He used to be the rollover guy, and I used to kind of like hate that because I don't like dudes that are just in the league just to roll over. And no matter how busy we all get, there's really no reason not to turn a fucking lineup in. So I was kind of harsh at him in the beginning, but over the last few years, he's really been engaged and he's been fantastic. I wish he would make a trade with me, but he's not one of those guys who won't trade with me. But that doesn't mean we don't appreciate everything he does in the league. I like when he chimes in on rules. He's very Swedish, where he didn't pick a side. He didn't really care. He just picks what he thinks is right. So that's always good for the league. So when we look at Dominators hitting, he picked 3 hitters and 2 pitchers in the top 5 rounds. He obviously gets the gem of the gem, Ronald Acuna, who is Mr. Categories across the board. He's just runs, hits, homers, RBIs, stolen bases. He's everything. He was everything for me for 2 years. I love that guy. When you would get an 0 for 4, you're like, what the fuck, dude? Give me something. He would, and they were few and far between. So when I would get 0 for, I'd be like, man, that sucks. So, anyways, he had Acuna in the first round. He also has, I said 3, right? That is that correct? What am I missing here? Has he got somebody injured? Oh, Seager was a dynasty 3rd, and Brian Reynolds was the 5th. So he's got Acuna, Seager, Brian Reynolds. That's pretty good top, 3 out of 5 studs right there. I think those guys are all studs. Got Contreras at catcher, Isaac Paredes at first, Paredes, however you say it, from Tampa Bay. He's Mr. Multiple Positions. I love guys like that. Brandon Lowe, Tampa Bay. Gorman, I don't love at third base. Carpenter's a pretty good player. Reynolds and C.J. Abrams, who I really like. So I gave Dominators a 4 as his starting squad. Solid. Really good job drafting. He's a little light in third base, unless there's somebody else playing third base. I don't know. I guess you could switch Paredes in there, but who would play first base? He really doesn't have much for first base. Kirilloff, but I don't think he's a part-time player, right? I'm not sure. That as far as his bench, he's got Kirilloff, Remco, Westberg, Florio, Cleveland. His bench is not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. So I give him a 4 for hitting, a 2.5 for depth. Don't love his depth. I don't think he has enough there to do anything as far as he needs something at first base. Or you first or third, he's a little light. So out of the hitting, he gets 6.5, which is what I have. Okay. Then we move to pitching. Remember, he has 2 pitchers in his top 5. And those guys were Cole Reagans and Chris Bassett. Don't love Chris Bassett being the 4th round, but I guess, again, we all overdraft pitchers, right? So pull Reagans. We're gonna see. Is he gonna take the 150, 160 innings that you want from a second round guy? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Everybody loves Reagans before the season, so it's not like he wasn't high on everybody's radar, except for maybe a couple people didn't know who the fuck he was. I do like Whitlock to come back this year. Ashcraft, we'll see. He kind of pulled him off the scrap heap. Blackburn, Boyle. I don't love John Gray. Cole Irvin, Solent. So his starting staff, I give him a 3.5 because there are some good players in there. We'll see. And then his overall depth, I give him only a 3. There's not a lot there. Originally I had Yuri Perez as marked in there, but he's now, I think he's out for the season. I do like Eduardo Rodriguez with the Diamondbacks when he comes back. So I really do think his staff has a chance. His depth is not great though. So I gave him a 3 in depth, 3.5 starting pitching. And then it comes to management. Now, Brian doesn't make a lot of trades. He's kind of I'm going to sit on my team, make some moves here and there, but for the most part, he doesn't do a lot of this. So he doesn't negotiate trades very often. So I only can give him a 3 at this point. It's gotten better because I would have given him a 1 or 1.5 a few years back, but he's really engaged in the league now. I like how he's, grown in that position, but he's actually not a bad guy at all. He's a Cubs fan. So if you add up 4 for hitting, 2.5 for depth, 3.5 for pitching, 3 for pitching depth, and then 3 for manager, puts him at 15. So my standings will come out to Capital, Red, Dominators, Outage. And you can see all of it there. And quite honestly, Rampage is going to have one. I don't care what he's done week 1. Don't care. His team over the long haul will be a big fat 0. By the way, let me just make one note about Outage. Steve kept a dynasty player in the 15th round. Let me double check this. I want to make this note before because I know I did it in the other one. Steve kept a dynasty player, Corbin Carroll in the 15th round. Corbin's off to a slow start, but he kept him in the 15th round. Now, most people have kept dynasty players in the top 10 rounds, right? So then Steve did his own thing with his little analytics, whatever his little formula is. He kept somebody in the 15th round. It's the old monkey see, monkey do thing that I usually do with Wang, is with Outage. Outage decided he's going to keep a dynasty player in the 15th round. Adley Rushman. Again, I know Brian can't actually maneuver without Steve's help. It's actually kind of hilarious. Rampage, get your own thoughts. Get your own thoughts. Anyways, I hope you guys like this review. I now have to upload it onto YouTube. I know the sound will be there, and I will try to get another one done tonight. All right?